thick-necked, gravel-voiced contractor who watched over the old family interests in construction.
He's one of my best friends. We played paddleball one time. When he hit the ball, I thought the wall was going to break. He hit it. Wow. The ball broke, as a matter of fact. Sammy was very,
What's up,
very
guys?
strong. That's why I call him Sammy.
Roblox.
It's a little bit surprising that Sammy was someone who did have a little bit on the ball, was young enough to be a threat to John Gotti. Never thought that Sammy Gravano would take him down.
Gotti treated Gravano as a brother, someone he could trust in his life.
He always talked about hating rats. Sammy's rhetoric always downrated. Rat.
On FBI tapes, Gotti let Gravano know just how much he cared for him. To the public, Gotti made himself the most visible mob boss since Scarface Al Capone. His perfectly coiffed hair, $2,000 suits, and frequent appearances at New York's hottest night spots painted a picture of a bygone mafia era.
When John Gotti walked into a restaurant, it was an event. 10 people walked into that restaurant. A cashmere coat over his shoulders, dressed impeccably. Everybody stopped and looked around.
He began to believe that he was all-powerful. You know, in one conversation, he and Sammy Gravano were sitting at a table in a restaurant, and John turned to Sammy and he said, "Hey, look at those people there. They're smiling at me. They love me." And sure enough, Gravano looks over, and there are two young, recently married people looking at John Gotti in awe. The guy gets up and says, "Hello, Mr. Gotti, I really want to meet you. I think you're great." And goes back and sits down. And John Gotti tells Sammy, "Stay right, what did I tell you? Everybody loves us."
In January 1989, Gotti was indicted again, this time for ordering the shooting of a construction union agent, John O'Connor. 4 years earlier, O'Connor had sent union thugs into this restaurant to destroy the work of non-union labor. Only the restaurant turned out to be owned by the Gambinos. O'Connor was shot 4 times in the buttocks.
John O'Connor was shot because John Gotti ordered him to teach him a lesson.
To prove its point, prosecutors played surveillance tapes of Gotti repeating O'Connor's address over the phone. And then a garbled sentence the prosecution said would bust him up. The jury was left with reasonable doubt.
How say you with respect to John Gotti, guilty or not guilty?
We find him not guilty.
Gotti was free again and held a fireworks display in Little Italy to celebrate. But the feds were still listening and waiting for the right moment to pounce. As the 1990s began, John Gotti seemed to be making good on his reputation as a Teflon Don. But he did not count on the betrayal of his closest ally, Sammy the Bull Gravano. On December 11th, 1990, Gotti, Sammy the Bull, and John's underboss, Frank Locascio, met for dinner at the Ravenite Social Club. FBI agents were waiting in a car across the street. They had enough taped evidence to bring Gotti and company to trial again. The 3 men were arrested just after 6:30 p.m. Gotti faced a slew of racketeering charges, including ordering 4 murders. One of those murders was the hit on Paul Castellano. Gotti and Gravano were both denied bail.
While still in prison together, they were both ruminating on ways of getting out of jail. Sammy Gravano gave the suggestion that perhaps they could break out by scaling down bed sheets. And John Gotti thought he was crazy. John Gotti's suggestion was even a little bit more crazy, I think, than Sammy's. And that was to bribe the president. And his suggestion to Sammy Gravano was somewhere down the line, 5 years from now, we put together a $5 million package. We can walk right out the front door, we can bribe the president. And Sammy looked at John, and John looked at Sammy, and the way I get it was, They both thought that each other was crazy.
This time, John could not count on his longtime lawyer, Bruce Cutler. The government said Cutler was too close to organized crime. On one tape, Gotti was heard complaining about Cutler's fees. In jail, Sammy the Bull knew he could be implicated in as many as 19 mob hits. That's when Sammy decided to become what he had always said he hated, a rat. He agreed to testify against the boss in exchange for a lighter sentence. Gotti was devastated. At the trial, his closest ally, Sammy the Bull, took the stand and told the world how John ran the Gambino family and how he and Gotti had plotted the assassination of Castellano.
It took a while for Gravano to look over at Gotti, but when he saw the way Gotti was looking at him, it was the same kind of look on his face. It's really hard to describe, but if looks could kill, 2 people would have been dead in the courtroom that day.
The jury took less than 2 days to find Gotti guilty of all counts.
I was with John when he was sentenced. He gets life without parole, and the judge imposes a $50 special assessment. And we're back in the holding cell afterwards, and John's taking off his tie, getting out of his suit. He says, "Boy, that $50 special assessment, they really know how to stick it to a guy, huh?" And he laughs. Life without parole, and he laughs.
Gotti was sent off to the maximum security federal penitentiary at Marion, Illinois. Gravano, after a short prison term, was put in the witness protection program under a new name. The Gambino crime family would never be the same.
John Gotti made a lot of money for himself and his immediate family. In the end, however, he helped bring the Gambino crime family down to a lower level than it had been.
From prison, Gotti made it known in the family that he wanted his son, John Jr., to take over.
John Gotti ended up committing the same crimes within the mob that he so much hated his predecessors for. Well, why did he hate Paul Castellano? Because he hadn't earned his position. He got it, because of who he was related to. Yet, in the end, what did John Gotti do? He made his son, a relatively inexperienced gangster, not much more than a kid, the boss of the family, surpassing many in higher rank, hundreds with more experience who felt more deserving. So, he became, in many ways, what he loathed.
John Jr., the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And here's a guy who has at his disposal, because of his father's name, access to sophisticated type of crime. Computers, high-tech communication system. In fact, there's a lot of mob guys involved in the 900 number scheme, where you call up to 6 and whatever, astrology, whatever. And there's a lot of money to be made in that. But this moron is going around with a band of thugs who are hooked into weightlifting and steroids, shaking down bars and discos in Westchester, Bronx, and parts of New York City.
While a lot of the men didn't hold John Jr. in high regard, they didn't challenge him either. Nobody wanted to become the new Gambino boss. The risks far outweighed the glory.
Put a brain in my head. I don't want that job. Because once you take that job, you're an all-out target for law enforcement. I'd rather stay in the background, earn my money, have my girlfriends, enjoy myself. Why do I need that kind of attention?
The remaining 200 or so Gambino members, under John Jr.'s direction, still operated many of the street rackets and had clout in the staples of construction and trucking. There to advise John Jr. were some of the family's elders, among them Carlo's son, Tommy Gambino. Over the years, Tommy had risen to the rank of capo, but no further. He shared a remarkable likeness to his father, from his hooked nose to his gentlemanly, polite demeanor. But all of his life, Tommy felt trapped by the legacy left to him.
A White House listening device planted by the FBI picked Tommy up saying this. Me, I never had the chance to say, well, I'm going to do something I want to do. I always did it for my family, for my children, for my father. That's a very touching statement. poor Tommy Gambino, he always did what he was told. Like a good little boy.
What he was told was to control the garment industry. For decades, Tommy had a stranglehold on trucking there. But in 1992, the Gambino grip was broken. Tommy, along with his younger brother and business partner Joseph, pleaded guilty to antitrust charges. They were forced to give up much of their trucking operations. More sorrows came for Tommy in the mid-1990s when he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for running loan sharking and gambling operations.
So the Gambino family really, in many ways, has been stripped of the legendary leadership that they had for many years. I mean, you go back again to what I said, Vincent Mangano, Albert Anastasia, Carlo Gambino, and when I say legendary, I would stop there. Paul Castellano, he tried to reap a lot of the profits that his brother-in-law left him, and John Gotti just brought the family down.
The family's been shattered. So you have the rise of this enormous criminal organization. Then it reaches its apogee in the reign of Carlo Gambino and the reign of Paul Castellano, and then crashes, is destroyed by the reign of John Gotti. I think a final thought may be a quote from Big Paul Castellano. This life of ours, this is a wonderful life. If you can get through life like this and get away with it, hey, that's great. But it's very unpredictable. There are so many ways you can screw it up. They screwed up in the end.
Shouldn't have happened.
It's almost like my soul ruptured, so to speak.
The drugs were in control.
2:05 p.m., August 16, 1977. Ginger Alden finds the lifeless body of Elvis Presley lying on the bathroom floor. At just 42, the king of rock and roll was dead.
Like a train stopping. It went to a screeching halt.
I think there's room for everybody, and I hate to criticize another performer, you know. But,
Are you satisfied with the image you established?
well, the image is one thing, and a human being is another, you know. So.
Memphis, Tennessee, the home of the legendary Elvis Presley. Here, Elvis's closest friends and confidants, known as the Memphis Mafia, reveal the heartbreaking story of the King's final hours on Earth.
My first impression when I met Elvis in 1958 was it was hard to believe that this was such a superstar. He was such a natural, good person, attentive, caring, a warm guy. Just when you talk to him, he just talked to you like my cousin Red talked to me or some of the other guys. And he just was, I don't know, there was something about him that just drew you in.
He was amazing, his looks, and his name alone, just Elvis Presley. Who ever heard the name Elvis?
Now I know that's very quiet, and that's too long, one night with you. Is what I know now.
No question about it. He was on the verge and made plans to fire Colonel Parker, to cut down his entourage to 4 to 5 people. He wanted an entire new career, a new life, a new lifestyle. He got to a point with his life where he realized that he was taking medications and poison that was ministered to him by various doctors. Exercising, recharging his batteries, and re-entering Hollywood once more as a dramatic actor.
Over half a century ago, at Sun Studios in Memphis, rock and roll was born, and so began the legend of Elvis Presley. In the course of his incomparable career, Elvis took the world by storm, starting with his first hit in 1954, That's All Right Mama.
I'm leaving town, baby. I'm leaving town for sure. Why do you want to be bothered with me hanging? I don't know, but that's all right. That's all right, Mama.
Elvis was a very, very shy, retiring type individual. He didn't like to be around new people. He didn't trust them. He trusted us. We were a source of comfort. He could be what he wanted to be around us. He could be himself. If there wasn't Elvis himself, and it was around us. Elvis did not make friends easy. Just didn't like to do it. And with us, he didn't have to do it. And with us, we all could be what we wanted to be, and he could be the same. We knew what made him tick. He, of course, knew the same thing about us.
3 p.m., Thursday, August 15, 1977. Elvis is preparing for yet another back-breaking tour, the second tour of that year. His girlfriend, Ginger Alden, didn't want to go on tour with him. Ginger was just 21 and was not prepared to bow to his every demand, something Elvis was used to, even during his marriage to Priscilla.
You know, I think two things. Some man is good looking, or some man, and if you've got wealth and looks, they're really going to come. And they're going to come fast and hard. And what you have to do is on a continual basis weed them out. Because you got to weed the squirrels out from the lambs. And the squirrels cause you more trouble than lamb ever causes. Not because they eat a lot of nuts, but it's because they're crazy, and this is the problem.
Over the years, his Memphis Mafia had supplied him with a number of compliant women.
It's funny to me today, because just for the hell of it, one Saturday night, at a time when there was only 7 of us, including Elvis. See, on Friday night and Saturday night, Elvis used to let all the girls that hung around the gates.
And one Saturday night, just for the hell of it, I was bored. So I went around the house and I counted all the women that were in the house with us 7 guys. And this is not an exaggeration. There was 152 women there.
Man, I thought I was at hell, but what can I say? It was exciting all the time, and I thought, man, this is a dream. I don't ever want to wake up, so. But it had its moments too. But overall, if you look at it, it was such an exciting time. It was something new. Elvis was gifted with the fact that he was constantly looking for something new to do. And you never knew what this man was going to come up with,
The phenomenal part of it was that the screaming and the hollering, and you couldn't hear. They wouldn't stop. And it would, he could sing a number, nobody even knew what he said. It was just pandemonium. It never stopped.
Elvis had a tremendous draw to him emotionally and physically, where you looked at him and you thought, that is probably about the best looking man I've ever seen, And he just had a charisma about him. He had a way of pulling you in. If people call it Southern charm, he had it in spades.
8 p.m., August 15, 1977. Elvis goes to the dentist in search of prescription drugs. He's accompanied by Ginger, Billy Smith, and Billy's wife, Jo.
In the movie years, the drugs were in control. The sleeping pills and the uppers for the energy level, those were just taken. In fact, some of us that took them, I couldn't take them every day. Not to be the goody-goody, but I just couldn't take that pill. I knew what it was going to do to me. Make my mouth dry, just going to make me wired all day, and I just didn't want to do it. But I had to take them sometimes because he would stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30, 3 o'clock, and we get up at 5 to go on location, and there's no way, and I learned from the very start, I sleep when he sleeps.
Fire! On the way!
The guys around Elvis, we were just, we stayed wired up all the time.
We didn't go to bed till, 2 o'clock in the evening, and it was tiring after a while, and so we'd take a little speed, stay up the next day, and a lot of times we couldn't go to sleep because we were high, and we had to take a sleep till we go to sleep. And we lived that way for a long time. We really lived hard, but luckily we were young, we could do it.
Amidst the fun and games, there were already warnings of what drug use would bring.
One time, we were going so hard that Elvis started getting a bloody nose. And we went to the doctor. The doctor said, you guys need to get some rest. His resistance was getting down, and he kept getting a bloody nose, so we had to rest for a couple of days.
Elvis did everything to excess. He had massive appetites for food, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He approached his search for spiritual serenity in the same enthusiastic way. Larry Geller was Elvis's personal hairdresser and spiritual guru.
Elvis had a beautiful head of hair. I mean, the man had everything. He even had the hair. It was a little fine. He lacked body, but he had a beautiful head of hair. And I remember I sprayed it, and I was molding it, and I said, so what do you think, Elvis? And he said, oh, great, great, great. And he swirled around in his chair. He looked and said, but I want to ask you a question. My hair is great, but what's more important to me is this. What are you really into, Larry? What are you really all about? It really threw me for a loss for a moment. I mean, here's a person who was totally straightforward. And I said, Elvis, I mean, you know that I work with celebrities and I do their hair. This is what I do for a living. But what's more important to me than anything else is my search for truth. To find a purpose for a living. I said, look, I know you're Elvis Presley, you're the biggest star in the world. I know this must sound corny to you. He said, wait a minute, Larry, wait. That's not corny at all. You have no idea how I need to hear what you have to say about this. Please, man, just keep on talking. And I did. The self-realization part which is close to the ocean in Southern California, in the Pacific Palisades. Was a place that Elvis loved to visit. And the monks that lived there became friends with Elvis. And Elvis would love to just leave the world, walk around the park, enjoy the serenity. And people left him alone. They recognized him, because a lot of people do go there. It's a very special place. And nobody bothers anyone. Elvis would go into the chapel and he would meditate. We would go in the back and speak with some of the monks. They would reveal and explain certain experiences that they would have. We'd walk around the lake. Elvis loved the park. He said, look, how come I haven't had an experience? I want to feel God. I said, well, Elvis, look, it doesn't happen like that. When you want something, you want it now and you expect it. You have to be patient and you have to surrender your ego.
In his latter years, Elvis embarked on a rigorous touring schedule organized by his manager, Colonel Tom Parker.
He didn't like the idea of doing, 2 shows a night, sometimes 3 a week. It bothered him. And it festered and festered and festered. It's like when I called him from LA when we were going to do that last tour. I said, you just need to shut it down. I said, cut it off. Let's just, I said, let's just cancel this tour out. And he said, Lamar, I've got a payroll. Which, when you say that, you go, well, he's right. But at the same time, I told him, I said, listen, you got 2 or 3 guys around here that'll go to Hawaii with you. And I said, we'll hang out and you just, and you get yourself back together again. He said, let's talk about that after this tour. It always sounds like a good idea. He didn't make it.
With his records no longer selling, Elvis's only income came from these tours, and being 40 plus, he no longer had a huge following. He was on the very edge of financial collapse. Touring paid the bills for now, but 50% of the income went to Tom Parker. The Colonel himself was also facing bankruptcy.
Colonel Parker probably was one of the most degenerate gamblers I've ever known in my life. In Nevada, they used to say his money's not worth anything. He played roulette and would put chips on every number. He would play craps and bet the horn, the center. One night I was up about, I think I was up $50,000, $60,000. Remember, I was running the crap table crazy, and he came up and took my money and put it on Don't Pass. Don't Pass. Yeah. Don't Pass. And I threw a 7 and lost it all. 1 pop. And I wanted to throw up, but I couldn't. And I said, Jesus God, I said, I've worked my butt off. I said, he said, how much did you start off with? I said, I started off with $2,000. So he counted out $2,000 and gave it to me. He said, now you're even. I went, God. But he was right. I was even. I was
Colonel gambled in a way.
I only lost $2,000.
We all have our little idiosyncrasies. His was gambling. And I loved him to death, but he didn't play the game like you have to play it to win. He would go through with those on roulette, and he would drop 5 or 6 chips there, 2 on that one, 10 or 12 on this one, and whatever fell out of his hand, that's what he'd do. And when he hit, he didn't really win, because he had more bet than what it was.
He did.
Yeah.
Listen, one night in between shows, this was in '70, and we were at the crap table. And he called me and said, listen, you got to stay with me here. And I said, well, I said, I've got to go upstairs early. He said, no, you stay here. He said, I'll get you up there on time. And I said, okay, sir. In a period of an hour and a half, he lost over $1.25 million.
Come on back and let's play a little house so we can do what we did before. Come back, baby.
One night, I walked down to the casino. I just left Elvis. This was after his show. And I noticed there was a large group of people roped off, and they were all in front of a table watching someone gamble. And as I walked up, it was Colonel Parker by himself at the table with stacks of chips. And he was playing the sucker's game of all games. It's called the Wheel of Fortune. And the odds of winning that game are the worst. It's better if you play craps or blackjack. At any rate, he's at the table and he spots me in the crowd. Larry, he said, come on, come here, sit next to me. He said, I'm not doing too well. I need some luck. Give me some good thoughts, Larry. I said, okay, Colonel, and I felt so uncomfortable. I really did. After about 5-10 minutes, I said, Colonel, maybe you'll do better now. I hope you will, but I have to get back upstairs. Elvis needs me. I told him I was just going to walk down for a few minutes. So I left. The Colonel was there for hours upon hours upon hours until like 5 o'clock in the morning, and he lost $1.5 million that night.
As Elvis prepared for his last tour that would start in Portland, Maine on August 17th, it was clear that he had no choice but to perform if he was to remain solvent. And for Tom Parker, it was essential that his gambling losses were covered. Elvis was the Colonel's own cash cow.
We were on tour in Louisville, Kentucky. And this was about 4 months before Elvis passed away. And Elvis, the night before, had a very difficult time. He felt he had a fever. He felt nauseous. He felt flu-like. He couldn't sleep. He had a very, very difficult night. It was late afternoon, and Dr. Nick was Elvis's doctor, traveled with us, was in the bedroom with Elvis. I was in the front room. The television was on, and there was a pounding on the door, which is very unusual because we owned that floor. No one was allowed there. We had security cops positioned in front of the elevators. Everything was blocked off. So who would knock on the door like that? So I immediately walked over to the door, looked through the peephole, and there's Colonel Parker, who never came to visit Elvis on tour. I opened the door, and I said, Colonel. He said, where is he? I said, well, he's in the bedroom. Let me tell him you're here. He said, no, I'm going right in. So he, with his cane, he walked past me, he opened the door, and this is what I saw. Dr. Nick was holding Elvis's head. Elvis was in the bed, semi-conscious, almost comatose. And he was moaning. He was in such bad shape. And Dr. Nick was dunking Elvis's head into a bucket of ice water to revive him. The door closed. And I thought immediately, okay, this is good. This is good. Now the old man, Parker, is going to see what's going on here. He's going to see how bad, the bad shape Elvis is in. And he's going to do something about it. I mean, he can't allow this to go on. It's inhuman. 90 seconds later, the door opened up. Colonel Parker walks up to me and stands I get up. We stand toe to toe. And he stares coldly into my eyes. He says, no, you listen to me. The only thing that's important is that that man is on stage tonight. Nothing else matters. Nothing.
There's a lot of them. I can't think of any right offhand. I like to live up to my reputation of being a nice guy. This is it, folks. Beautiful.
At the behest of the Colonel, committed to a hectic touring schedule, and with mounting financial and physical turmoil, Elvis and his mafia had become more and more isolated from the real world.
Well, I knew over the years Elvis was very isolated from the outside world. We didn't know what was going on the outside. We very seldom read the paper. We watched a lot of sports, a lot of TV shows. We didn't hardly watch the news. We were very, very much hidden from everything going on the outside.
We lived in an insulated world within our own group. And our group, I mean, somebody said that Elvis really never left his bedroom. Well, he didn't. Elvis would get on his airplane bedroom and go to a hotel bedroom, and would go from a hotel bedroom to his Graceland bedroom.
Elvis, over the years, every once in a while, he'd get like that. He'd go to his upstairs, and he might spend a week or two and not even show his face. But that was only like a week or two. Now we're talking about months, you know.
10 p.m., August 15, 1977. The Mafia was assembling in Memphis for what would prove to be one tour too far. By the mid-70s, Elvis's drug habit had become a serious threat to his life.
In 1975, what I had been seeing a little bit of the previous year or so was getting worse, and I was very concerned about his health. It wasn't like it had been before when he started experimenting with the down stuff. That's when we started getting concerned, all of us, not just me. The down stuff is like Demerol and things like that, pain medication that brings you and lets you down and you kind of just float, Dilaudid is like a synthetic and is 5 times more powerful than pure morphine, mostly given for cancer patients, terminally ill cancer that just couldn't handle the pain. But see, in his mind were not illegal drugs. These were prescription drugs. Now, the doctor's writing them for him. He's abusing them, but they're not illegal drugs in his mind.
I got a call from Elvis saying, "Jerry, can you help me?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, I'm on the floor. I can't get up. And I said, "Who's there?" He said, "Nobody." So I ran downstairs. I don't know what car I got into or whatever. Went to the doctor's house, and sure enough, Elvis was there. This was a proud man. He was even proud around us. And this broke my heart. And he was on the floor. So we picked him up, put him in bed. His legs really just wasn't working. I was hurt, I was angry, and I waited downstairs for the doctor to come in. And I said, "What the hell is going on?" He said, "What are you talking about?" And I told him what I'd just gone through. And he said, "Well, this liquid diet, we're not giving him any drugs, we're just giving him placebos." And I threatened the doctor. I said, "If I ever see this man in this shape again, I will go all the way." I go upstairs and Elvis is on a stationary bicycle. He's going full speed. Probably hadn't been out of bed in about 4 weeks, right? And he probably doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know about my meeting with the doctor and everything. And, "Damn it, Charlie, when you get your medical degree, you can start telling the doctors how to treat me." And he was furious.
Elvis took drugs because he liked it. There was everybody thinks that there's some sort of supercilious situation where he would develop this thing of trying to escape it. He just loved them. He loved drugs. I'm talking when he would sit and say, and I'd sit down and say, "Elvis, you don't need to take all this." He said, "I need it." When a person has that mentality, there is no way you can stop it. They're going to do it, and that's the end of it. It's like I said, "I need a drink." You say, "No, you don't." "I need it." You can't. You're done.
No one was in any doubt that the drugs and ensuing health problems had changed Elvis mentally and physically. Elvis had not been in good health for some time, and many of his physical problems were caused by his diet. Elvis had eaten Southern cooking his whole life, deep-fried and refried foods, not a diet promoting good health.
He would eat crisp bacon, sliced tomatoes, mashed potatoes and gravy, and sauerkraut, believe it or not, and mix it all together and eat it, and loved it. And Elvis would eat stuff till he got tired of it and didn't want to eat anymore. So he got off of it. The last year of Elvis's life, he went back to eating mashed potatoes, sauerkraut, sliced bacon, sliced tomato. Bacon, sliced tomatoes, very crisp. And I said, "You know what you're doing here?" "What do you mean?" I said, "You're back. That's why you're just eating 57. He said, "Never thought about that."
Elvis had a lot of physical problems that were really eating away at him. He had glaucoma. He had hypertension. Do you know that every night after a show, his blood pressure would shoot up to 180, 200 every night? That's a tremendous strain on the heart. Elvis had a spastic, twisted colon. I can't tell you the problems that plagued him because of it. He also had his blood sugar that was a little too high. He would start to get bruises on his leg. One night we were on tour, he tripped and fell down the stairs at the back of the stage, twisted his ankle. And he had a very difficult time after that, moving on stage.
Midnight, August 15th, 1977. Awaiting the start of the tour, the guys knew Elvis was unhealthy, but they still believed he was untouchable.
August 15, 1977, I flew in from Los Angeles getting ready to do a tour. The next day, we were supposed to leave for Portland, Maine. And we were sitting around the kitchen talking, and Elvis was upstairs with Ginger Alden's girlfriend at the time, and Billy Smith was there and his wife, and they leave. We just ate dinner, the guys, a couple guys around talking about tomorrow, what we got to do. I call upstairs, and I said, Elvis up here, anything we need, anything I should know about, anything you need for tomorrow, and he was fine. He seemed very well.
3 or 4 o'clock, I don't remember exactly what time it was, but he called out at the house, and he said, would you and Joe come out and me, you, and Joe and Ginger go down to the racquetball? I said, sure. So we met there about somewhere around 4:30, I guess. And it was Joe and Ginger, and then Elvis and Ginger, and then me and Joe, and then me and Elvis. And then the time it got to me and Elvis, well, it done got down to silliness. It was no longer a racquetball game. Even though we were getting exercise, we were trying desperately to see who could nail the other one with the ball, And then he finally swung so hard he missed, and he hit himself on his shin, and that ended the game right there. He went complaining about it hurting. So I raised his pants leg up there, and I looked at it, I said, it's not bleeding. I said, it can't be hurting. Then he got into a kind of a melancholy mood. He went to the piano, and he was playing different songs for Ginger and us. And then that lasted maybe, 15, 20 minutes.
Lost in his music, it was like Elvis was 21 again.
Near or far away, I'm always longing for the day, my darling, you are home to stay. I'd be lost without your love.
And then we went back to Graceland. I went upstairs and I washed and dried his hair for him. And we talked in the bathroom. He even told me, he said, man, I'm going to try to make this the best tour ever, And he said, I'm going to try to go to sleep. I said, okay. I said, you need me, I'll be at the house, And I assumed he was going to bed. His mood swings were more frequent. Elvis Presley was always an upbeat person. He really was. And I guess that's one of the things more that made you, like to be a part of that, because he was. And then to see him have these mood swings, more frequent, and it was scary, it really was. And I didn't like it. To be honest with you, I just didn't like it at all.
I would say that Elvis started slipping after he accomplished that feat of the 1.5 billion people watching him live from around the world on that satellite show. From that point on, I would say it was just a slowly slide. No up and down, just slowly slide.
I tried not to let his moods a lot of times affect my moods. If I did, we were both in the pits of hell at that time, literally. And so therefore, when I thought he was down, I was going to try to be up. And when he was up, I was automatically up. I mean, I was in tune to him. But it was difficult. It was hard, And you want to just say, God, man, come on. It's not too late, Get a grip in your life, and get away from the drugs, Don't use them. You don't have to. And take a little time off. Nothing's that impressive. you don't owe anybody anything. If you get rid of me tomorrow, and I told him that, and I meant it from the bottom of my heart, if you get rid of all these guys, they will understand. And if they don't, they were not your friends to start with. But take some time off. And he'd just look at me and say, I can't. I owe too much to too many people.
We lived a wild and fast life in those matter of years that he was on Earth. So, like that song, you know, he did it his way. Not give the song any credit, but I wish he would have changed and did it our way, but he did it his way. And we could talk to him at times, he'd sit and agree, he'd say, yeah, I'm going to change my life. Yeah, I'll do what I really do. And we all had that hope because the last vacation in March of 1977, we all went to Hawaii, we had a great time. He was in a great mood, he was out there on the beach having a good time. He was overweight at the time, but he was smiling. We thought, hey, this is a good chance, you know. He cleaned his act up for about 30 days or more. But then all of a sudden, boom, right back again.
At Graceland, Elvis now faced the strain of yet more performances. None of them were happy because they saw that Elvis's decline had begun spiraling out of control.
He wanted to do the best show he could, but with what he was,
Nothing left.
Where he was at, he was really burning, and the light was getting dimmer. I must say, this is painful for me. That when Elvis came on stage, he gave such a whoever has not seen Elvis live has missed the greatest entertainer of the 20th century, the greatest star of the 20th century. But when I saw him, my heart sank because I knew that something was wrong. I could see in his eyes, I saw in his face. I said, he can't last like this another 5 years.
We were all very frustrated. But we all could do, all thing we could do is that. We can't, he's 42 years old. You can't force this man to do anything. You know, people say, why did you guys have him committed? How could I have him committed? He's 42 years old. I can't have him committed. His father couldn't have him committed. You know, you can't prove he's crazy. Your hands are tied. Your hands are tied.
I didn't lay back in the later years. That last year and a half, I didn't lay back. I said what I wanted to say. The hell of it is, after all, I look back on it, it didn't do any good, you know, and that's what hurts more than anything.
6 a.m., August 16th, 1977. Elvis was restless. He told Ginger he was going to read in the bathroom. 2 p.m., August 16th, 1977. Ginger went into the bathroom to check if Elvis was okay.
Got up the next day, came to the house about 12 noon, the 16th, and about 2 o'clock, the phone rings, intercom, and when the maid picks up the phone, and it's Ginger, she says, come upstairs, I need help. Elvis fainted. So I ran upstairs. I go into the bathroom, and Elvis had fell over. He was laying on the floor. I turned him over, and I knew he was dead. I just knew it. But I was hoping he wasn't. I picked up the phone and called the operator. They didn't have 911 at that time. And said, we need an ambulance here at Elvis Presley's house. I didn't tell him who he was. And meanwhile, I couldn't do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation because Elvis' mouth was closed shut. There was no way possible. There's rumors I did that, but somebody made that story up. I was trying to massage his heart as well as I could, and it just seemed forever. People were all coming up there. It was pandemonium. The ambulance finally showed up. And it seemed forever, and I found out later it was like 20 minutes before they got there. We got him in the ambulance. Stretcher came, got him down in the ambulance. I jumped in the back of the ambulance all the way to the hospital. we're talking to him. And we get to the hospital real quick, the Baptist hospital. Got there, and they rushed him into the emergency room. I can tell you, it was tough. And 30 minutes later, about 30 minutes, I think, doctor came into the room and he said Elvis is left. Elvis is gone. And we all broke down and we all hugged each other. It was, very emotional time, naturally. We were still in a state of shock, when you think about it. We never thought this was going to happen.
For the bracelet, I pulled into the gates, and Elvis's uncle says to me, Larry, did you hear what just happened? I said, no, what happened? Elvis just died. Wait, what did you just say? I said, Elvis just died. I looked up in his bedroom, and I looked at him. I can't begin to tell you the state of mind that put me in.
About 1:30 or 42. And it was my cousin Patsy, that was his double first cousin and my first cousin. So she had called out there and she said, oh my God, she said, Elvis is dead. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, Patsy. I said, what do you mean? I said, is he gone to the hospital? She said, yeah, they take him to the hospital. I said, he's been, in the hospital before. I said, he'll be all right. She said, no. She said, he's dead.
There was a PR guy from the hospital was there with me. He asked me, he said, do you want to make the announcement? Elvis is no longer with us. And I couldn't do the announcement. I couldn't make the announcement. The press, I told the PR guys, you do it. I can't do it.
And we're driving down and radio's on and they play an Elvis record and the disc jockey says by the late Elvis Presley. I literally went berserk. I realized I'd never see Elvis Presley again. And it's the first time I realized it. And I hit this wall so hard, I crushed my hand. I did an operation.
The colonel was on the phone to Joe. And he was saying, yes, I know, and you need to do this, you need to do that. So he hung up the phone, and I was leaning on the television set. It was on a stand. And I was leaning on it. My left arm, in fact. Things become really indelified in your mind. And he walked up within probably 8 inches of my face, 10 inches. And he said, you got to go back to Memphis. Elvis is dead. And I looked at him, and it hit me like a sledgehammer. And I looked at him and I said, listen. I said, you know what? I said, you finally ran him to the ground, didn't you? He got mad at me. I said, you know what I'm talking about. I said, y'all wouldn't let him up. He kept working. He kept working. He said, you need to leave. And I said, yeah, I'm going to leave to keep knocking your damn teeth out.
When they brought him to the house and all the next day, I had some relief, you might say, when I saw him. Because I realized it's true, You've got to accept it, it's true. Of course, before I could believe, that he was just sick, in the hospital. I was just hearing what they wanted to tell me. But when you see the real thing, then you know it's there. And you got to deal with it.
I got into the house, and there is a group, a lot of the guys are there, and there's little Lisa Marie walking around saying, my daddy is dead, my daddy is dead. Vernon, his father's sitting in a chair. He said, Larry, Larry, and I run over to him and I collapse into his arms. What am I going to do? What am I going to do, Larry? He said, Larry, you're going to have to go do Elvis's hair. You got to go to the mortuary, Larry. He knows how he would like to look. I said, don't you worry, Mr. Presley. Don't you worry. I'll go.
And I would never, ever thought he would have died. We all talked about it, but he's too strong. He was too strong a person, he said. He's going to change his life. And he did. And it was tough, and it got to a point where a lot of guys don't want to talk about it.
I think that he had so much to give And here it is, you know, he hits the floor and died by himself. And I think it's horrible. I think it, I mean, nobody has a, nobody, I mean, nobody wants, I mean, nobody wants to die. And nobody wants to, especially die alone, I don't think. It'd have been so nice we all could have been around him. But, I mean, as it was, he fell forward on the floor and died. It's horrendous.
I was led by these police officers into a brick building. It was very cold, very dark. A long corridor. I walked down this corridor, and all I could hear was my heart beating, thumping, boom, boom, boom. And I stopped in my tracks because I saw what was in the other room. There was a table. I saw a body on the table with a sheet. I walked into the room. There was Elvis. I walked up to him. I stood right by his head on this side. Charlie Hodge stood on the other side. There was a few morticians in the room. And there was a silence for a long period of time. I just looked at that face. That beautiful, magnificent face. Now I had to do his hair. And the next shock kicked in. We were off tour for 6 weeks. We had a hiatus period. There's a regrowth, half an inch, so all white hair. I didn't bring my guys with me. I think, oh my God, I'm not going to do that. There was a lady there, and I said, do you have your mascara with you? And she did. It was a little black, thank God, mascara. A little teeny brush. So I smeared it all around, blended it into his black hair, and I dyed black. And it worked. It took me a good 45 minutes to an hour just to prepare his hair. Because first of all, Elvis was lying horizontally. His life force left the body, so there was nothing there. So I had to work on it, which I did. At a certain point, the morticians who were applying makeup to his hands and his upper body like they do, they pulled the sheet down. And Charlie Hodge screamed. He said, what the hell are you, how could you do that in front of us? So the crisscross of stars. They covered it back up. And over the years, you know, the big story, Elvis might be alive.
This will assess your current setup.
Oh, I wish that was true.
Hello and welcome back to another Technology Guru video. So
I worked on his body.
I'm going to take you through a full
I worked on his body thousands of times.
live stream using OBS or Open Broadcaster software. Whether you want to stream to Twitch or to YouTube, I've got some old tutorials on this.
And memories just started
OBS has released a new software which is
memories of the first night that I met Elvis, telling me how I must have been plucked out of the millions and millions of lives, but there has to be a reason. And things of the last 13, 14 years.
I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to show you in this tutorial.
It was so unbelievable, so surrealistic. At a certain point, I thought, wait a minute, this isn't real. He's sleeping. He's going to open his eyes. He's going to imitate Chief Inspector Clouseau from the Peter Sellers Pink Panther movies. Elvis knew all the lines. He was going to wake up and sit up and say, hey, what the hell's going on here? Let's get back to Graceland. No. I understood exactly what was happening. I understood this is the corpse of Elvis Presley. And his life force, his soul is not in that body anymore. Vernon Presley, Joe Esposito, and a few of the guys, Jerry Schilling and a few others, who walked up to see Elvis for the very last time. Because now he's going to be interned. So we took his PCB ring off, and the lid of the coffin's coming down. And I'll tell you right now, purposefully, consciously, right before the lid came down, I put my hand in. I put my head right in his forehead. Say goodbye. I wanted to feel his personal touch. Lid came down.
it's actually going to,
and
I want to log out of my account here and show you guys.
the funeral, during the funeral, some weird things happen, you know.